I'm Kobe Kushner. I'm an analyst here at Red Cloud. Thanks to the TMX group for sponsoring the session. We're about to hear from Christopher Brown of HeliosX Lithium and Technologies. This is a new lithium explorer developer with over 500,000 acres of lithium brine rights spread over Alberta, Argentina, and Nevada. Their projects have attracted some reputable partners here, and the team is led by Christopher Brown, who's with us today. It's always a pleasure talking to Chris because he comes from a very technical background, and I usually learn a thing or two from him every time we speak. So Chris, you have about 15 minutes, which will follow with about 5 minutes of Q&A. Viewers, feel free to ask your questions at any time.
Excellent. Thank you, Kobe, for the introduction. And thanks to Red Cloud providing the forum for us to manage in these near or close COVID times to get our information out to investors. A little bit of background about myself, as Kobe had spoken to. I'm a chemical engineer by education, but a reservoir engineer by training. I have an excellent understanding of subsurface fluid flow understanding, especially from the oil and gas side, and saw the ability to transition that over to the lithium brine opportunities. With that, the HeliosX entity has a focus on commercializing each of our properties in each of our jurisdictions. So we always work backwards from an idea of how do we commercialize this and work back to how we achieve that. And with that, we believe that there's different direct lithium extraction technologies that are pertinent to different reservoir types. But we'll walk through our presentation today and allow investors the opportunity to ask questions going forward. This is just our general disclaimer and forward-looking statements. As always, just be cautious of any statements made having to do with estimates and forecasts, etc. During the presentation. We just are providing guidance on what we expect to do, but as indicated in the disclaimer, there's no guarantee of these specific outcomes. Now about us. So our asset base stretches across 3 separate lithium brine jurisdictions. Those are in the Jujuy province in Argentina, the Nevada basins in USA, and the Alberta lithium brine complexes in Canada. Part of our focus of this presentation will be Argentina, where we have a strong partner with Pluspetrol. Pluspetrol is one of the larger oil and gas entities down in Argentina. They produce about 400,000 barrels a day and have a direction towards focusing on lithium brine prospects, as they as well recognize the easy transition from understanding oil and gas reservoirs to be able to identify lithium brine opportunities. So currently in Argentina, Pluspetrol is focused on commercialization up to 10 different lithium brine projects, of which the HeliosX partnership project is one of the focus areas. A brief background in terms of why we focus in Argentina specifically is one of the key areas. From an import process for the highest demand user of lithium globally, 55% of their lithium resources are sent to the US. In terms of prospectivity of future resources of discovery of lithium brine, even if we incorporate hard rock lithium resources globally, Argentina still falls in the top 5. And of today's reserves delivering to the market every day, Argentina ranks in the top 5 as well when you combine both brine and hard rock. So understandably, our focus is to remain and look for opportunities for growth in Argentina. And with Pluspetrol as a partner, we have jointly continued to look for acquisition opportunities to grow further. Our asset in Argentina drew our attention when we were originally looking for prospects globally, was that we wanted something in close proximity to assets that have already been commercialized. It's one thing to look for lithium brine expressions or lithium expressions in salars around Argentina in remote areas, but the downside of that is always the challenge of commercialization and closeness to proximity to infrastructure to commercialize. So part of our focus was finding depositional environments that allowed us to commercialize within a reasonable period of time. And our asset base, as shown on the map, offsets the Oil Cobre facility as well as the Lithium Americas facility. And so they've developed on the western side of a mountain range a depositional environment of lithium brine that has been amazingly successful. And we have over 230,000 acres on the eastern side of the mountain range in a deeper basin. So our basin is both larger on a width basis, but on a depth basis, we're about 2.5 times deeper in terms of the structure of lithium brine complexes we can pursue. So we're very excited about this opportunity going forward, and we think that this is going to provide upwards of hundreds of years of potential upside for resources that could be exploited from our basin alone going forward. Now, to put things in perspective of commercialization, when you're looking at a lithium brine play, it's always good to keep in mind your end goal. And for us, what we did is we modeled realistic capital programs to commercialize various sizes of facilities. So what we see on the screen is what would it take to commercialize a 5,000 TPA facility in terms of how much capital does that take? And in this strategy, we focused on what's already commercial using evaporation ponds. So I'll talk later in terms of the evolution to direct lithium extraction. But today, the process in Argentina for the facilities that are running, they use evaporation ponds as their technique for concentrating the lithium. So we did a 5,000 TPA model and we did a 20,000 TPA model. And the goal here was to see whether or not a junior company could enter the basin and legitimately commercialize an opportunity. And as you can see, a 5,000 TPA model will cost about $98 million US, of which HeliosX would be responsible for 49% of. We view that as an achievable capital participation level. In addition, if we do go to the 20,000 TPA facility level, even if we were not in a position to fulfill our 150 plus million of the capital program, we believe when you have line of sight on commercialization, other alternatives, meaning to finance that using various offtake agreements, could assist in providing the means and capital support we'd require to hold our own in the basin. So overall, we're very excited about the prospect in Argentina. Our land mass is quite substantive. And on the next slide, we'll talk in terms of footprints that we look at for being successful in commercializing an opportunity. Just as a snapshot in terms of concentrations that have been detected to date at surface from lithium, the sampling that's been completed, you can see just highlighted on the screen there that we did some initial sampling to the south that showed 280 to upwards of 1,300 milligrams per liter. In a price environment, let's say in the old days when lithium was $20,000 a ton, economic thresholds typically were at $12,000 a ton to meet economic requirements to justify commercialization. Today, obviously, that economic threshold is going to change because the pricing has gone up significantly. But so the average economic cutoff usually in these basins is about 300 milligrams per liter. But as you can see, even our surface sampling indicates quite high sample indications of the lithium at surface. Again, not to be misled in terms of what may be subsurface, but indications with the Ocobre and Lithium Americas facilities were that lithium concentrations did improve when they worked on their subsurface analyses. Now, in this slide titled What Success Looks Like, using our previous cases of the capital requirements for a 5,000 TPA scenario, you can see that NPVs will range between 800 million, 900 million potential in terms of in US dollars of value for that facility. Now, our goal is not just to do a 5,000 TPA case. Our goal is to complete an operational facility, but have line of sight on the much larger resource as you continue to delineate and develop the remaining resources on the land base. Now, to give a sense of what our footprint would look like, because it's very meaningful to know how big a 5,000 TPA case looks like on our land base, we just highlight there for illustrative purposes 2 light blue boxes within the dark blue box. And so the light blue boxes indicate the actual to scale footprint of what a 5,000 TPA case would look like. And the southern blue box would be what a 20,000 TPA operational footprint will be. And you can see relative to our land base, to be that successful with those footprints, we have a large basin to work with. Because as you can see, going up from Salinas Grandes, we have a large land footprint. But in addition, we are bringing new technologies to Argentina that they haven't even considered for development. Our expertise with subsurface modeling, with 3D work, as well as with horizontal drilling, we believe we can do some step change events to lower the physical footprint in Argentina, which will then better meet environmental guidelines, because we never want to underestimate environmental thresholds that the government may impose in the future, even if those guidelines aren't here today. Now, understanding lithium brine, when we look at more of the detailed geology and the technical information that we have at hand, what's important is to approach lithium brine like we would approach an oil opportunity. And I think this is why one of our fundamental advantages we have over many other companies is we're very technical in terms of our approach. So we're not only interested in terms of the lithium brine that's been identified at surface and even down hole when we drill the locations in terms of what the lithium content could be, having an understanding of the depositional environment from the start of where the lithium originally sourced to the migration pathway to understanding to where it's deposited today can lead us to understand the entire resource better. And so rather than focusing on a couple of drill holes where we would meet with success, if we can delineate the larger resource in the basin, we think we can have a much, much, much larger opportunity in Argentina. So as you can see highlighted on the map in the center area is the mountain ranges where the geothermal anomalies source the original lithium, which then on alluvial deposits filled these basins. And so on the western side, we have the two commercial opportunities that are going forward and productive. On the eastern side is our basin plate types. And then as you can see, the 3D modeling we've completed to date on lithium distribution is very important. So this is where how we'll focus a development program. And this is an ongoing process that we work with Clues Patrol with, but we did a screen capture of a 3D image of the lithium deposits throughout that region in terms of what we believe the distribution would be. And as you can see, we have our 300, 400, 500, 600 milligram per liter analysis of what the 3D model looks like. But in addition, we incorporate what's called the fee flow simulation work on top of this, because not only is it important to understand your lithium brine resource, but it's also understand what could potentially impact that resource, and mainly fresh water is your largest concern. And so we model not only the lithium brine reservoir, we also model the potential current and future impact that surface freshwater and subsurface freshwater could interfere, because one of your largest risks on lithium brine extraction will be variability in your production of your lithium concentrations. Touching on our US assets briefly, our other asset again is in close proximity to Silver Peak, only productive lithium brine mine at 5,000 TPA. We are over the mountain range again with the opportunity there with HeliosX Solutions. They're a leader in the DLE process, and we partner with them on utilizing their technologies in the Nevada basin. Our other prospect in Nevada is called Teals Marsh. We own that 100%, and we hope to put down a couple of locations there in 2022. That's still a work in progress for permitting. And then in Alberta, we're partnered with Lytus, another lithium extraction technology out of the University of Calgary. We're very excited about this technology because it actually works towards lower concentration lithium opportunities. And in Alberta, we deal with lithium concentrations that are closer to 100 milligrams versus the lithium concentrations in Argentina, which are closer to 400 to 600, versus lithium concentrations in Nevada, which are closer to 200 and 250 milligrams. So with Lytus, we hope to unlock some opportunities, and the goal here is to put a pilot program in place in the near future utilizing their technologies. So highlights essentially going forward, we plan to evaluate and define the Nevada and Argentina assets in the near term. We look to drill a location in Nevada with HeliosX Solutions in 2022, with potentially 2 more locations in Teals Marsh in 2022. We're targeting an Alberta location in 2023, as well as Argentina. We're looking at a drill location in 2023. And then pilot facilities, we plan to utilize and currently are working with Coke Separation Solutions for evaluation of using their DLE process in Argentina, HeliosX Solutions in Nevada, and Lytus in Alberta. And then we'll finish on just our capital structure. So shares outstanding, we're pretty tightly held with 36 million shares, warrants of 10 million at 75 cents. We have very few options issued at around 775,000 for total shares outstanding, about 47 million. And at today's market price in the range of 78 cents, our market capitalization is 28 million with cash on hand of about 1.5 million. And with that, I'll turn it back to Kobe just to answer any follow-up questions.
Great. Thanks, Chris. So, why are you guys focused on DLE as opposed to evaporation? What are the benefits here?
That's a great question, Kobe. The advantage is environmental footprint. With evaporation ponds, they tend to occupy a very large surface footprint, which when we get engaged with communities that are in the area, they tend to be frowned upon in terms of it's unsightly, and that size of footprint can can be negative to the environment for upwards of 20 years until it's remediated in the future. The DLE process mitigates that and eliminates the need of evaporation ponds and makes a much, much smaller environmental footprint. And the advantage of the DLE going forward is as governments move towards more strict environmental rules on impacts to the environment, we believe that the DLE route will enable those approvals to be much more efficient in the future as well.
And, taking a bigger step back here, you guys are focused on brines. Why not pegmatites? Why not clays? Or maybe you're open to those too?
Well, to some extent, the issue we deal with when you get into for example, the clays is in the US, we're dealing with much smaller reservoirs. Nevada in its own right, even for our lithium brine complexes, will be much smaller. For our view, if we want to mitigate risk for investors, our focus in Alberta involves very large reef complexes, as well as Argentina is a ginormous brine depositional environment. And the advantage of the diversity into a larger complex is that you have less risk of freshwater influx impacting your lithium brine concentration and less risk of lithium brine variability in your production. Versus when you get into those other types of basins, you do have a higher risk of a lot of variability in your production of lithium brine concentrations.
Great. We have some questions here on your partnership with the Plus Patrol. Can you just remind us, what is that partnership like? How much of a stake do they own?
Sure. The partnership's 51 to Plus Patrol, 49 for HeliosX. Plus Patrol brings a very strong reputation in Argentina. They're very well known, not only with the government, but with indigenous communities. So when letterhead goes out for community information sessions, people recognize and respect the fact that it's under Plus Patrol. So it brings a fairly powerful component for us to make sure we're engaged with the community and recognized by the government for the work that we're doing in Argentina.
Great. And you're pulling up some CapEx numbers for your Argentinian assets. Are these numbers more kind of like thumbsuck numbers based on comparables, or did you guys build them up from first principles kind of thing?
Well, we used the offsetting facility construction costs of the existing ones for Cobre and Lithium Americas as templates, and factoring in things that they did wrong, things that they did right. Everything's a learning process, but we try to put in realistic expectations. And on that basis, one thing that investors should be aware of is to commercialize in Argentina, you do need access to natural gas. No one's going to be able to commercialize a project of those sizes without access to natural gas for power. And Cobre and Lithium Americas are tying into a gas pipeline that's in close proximity. The pipeline they tie into for their key natural gas servicing for power actually runs directly through our asset. So from a capital perspective, we actually have we can actually technically be slightly lower than just on some savings and even tie back to the natural gas resource.
Right. And, is there any hints as to what's to come in terms of acquisitions? Where are you looking to pick up more ground? And
well, we're actually, funny enough, we're very active in Argentina. So we're at Plus Patrol. Now that they know our technical background on the engineering side, they've invited us to review acquisitions with them in partnership. And so we're actively reviewing opportunities in Argentina. In Canada, we have strong oil and gas contacts here. And we saw a number of lithium private and public entities acquire a lot of lithium brine rights right away. And we believe that a number of those are going to come back to the market. And we're focused on particular type of subsurface identifiers that we want to pursue on that basis. And as those lithium brine rights come available, we're going to acquire those as well.
No, it's definitely impressive that sub $30 million market cap companies attracted the likes of Plus Patrol and Lilac and some other heavy hitters. But with that, we are cutting it close on time. If you want to just tell us maybe what's the one next major catalyst that we got looking forward, that we get to look forward to, that you think will drive this thing further up?
Yeah, sure. Well, the one definitive one we're going to be pursuing right away is drilling with Lilac Solutions on the offset to Silver Peak. So that will happen this summer. And in fact, I'm supposed to get some prog information on the well, so I can make sure that it's been optimized for specific drilling for this type of reservoir type as well. So we're working closely together. So we like the back and forth of the information, because Lilac brings a certain skill set, and then HeliosX brings a certain technical skill set to the table. And between the two of us, we're really looking forward to our first well location together.